There are moments when you don't understand why people stop respecting you. You still act right, stay kind, help others, and give your best. But slowly their tone changes, their eyes shift, and their way of speaking becomes distant. No one insults you, no one says a word, but deep down you know you've lost something. Something invisible, yet heavy. Respect. I've been there. When I first started creating content, all I wanted was to share what felt true to me. But the harder I tried, the more I saw myself changing. I spoke more than needed, explained more than I should have, and showed up everywhere to avoid being forgotten. Every time I uploaded a video, I checked the numbers not to see how many watched, but to measure how much I was still valued. And that was the moment I lost what Stoicism always reminds us to protect: dignity in silence. I recall one evening when the dim light cast shadows on the wall, and a line from Marcus Aurelius echoed in my mind: "Do not waste what remains of your life living as others expect." I realized I was no longer speaking from a place of peace, but from a place of fear. I was trying to prove that I deserved to be heard and respected. But the truth is, the moment you feel the need to prove your worth, you've already begun to lose it. After that night, I chose silence. I stopped trying to be understood, stopped explaining when judged, stopped showing up everywhere. I focused on doing what was right quietly. And something strange happened. People began to listen. Not because I spoke more, but because I said less. Not because I proved myself, but because I stayed calm. The Stoics never taught us how to make others fear us, but how to earn respect through silence. Because they understood that respect doesn't come from words, but from the weight of presence. You can't force anyone to respect you by trying harder. You can only make them pause when they see you standing firm in calmness amid chaos. This video isn't about making people respect you. It's about the opposite: 4 quiet habits that slowly erode others' respect for you. The little things that chip away at your presence. When you talk too much, appear too soon, share too deeply, or wait for permission to be yourself. If you've ever felt underestimated despite doing nothing wrong, this is your journey to look inward. By the end of this video, you'll see that respect isn't something you gain from others, it's something you must not lose within yourself. Stay calm and let the next few minutes be a mirror. You don't need to learn how to make others respect you. You need to stop dropping the respect you owe yourself. Please write it down as a small promise to yourself. I choose calm, not approval. Sometimes all it takes is to stop chasing, and the world begins to see you in a different light. That's where the real story starts, when you learn to stand still amid misunderstanding and earn back respect in silence. Habit 1. When you try to explain just to be understood, there's a quiet kind of pain, the one that comes when you speak the truth, yet people don't believe you. You try to explain, to prove, to make them understand, and the more you try, the weaker you feel. They nod politely, their eyes drift away, and even if your words win, you still feel like you've lost something. I once went through this during a simple conversation with an old friend. She misunderstood one of my videos, thinking I was trying to lecture people. I reacted instantly, typing a long message to explain that my content never carried that tone. But the more I wrote, the more defensive my voice became. She stayed silent, and that's when I realized I had failed, not because she didn't understand, but because I had lost my inner stillness. That night, I reread a line from Epictetus. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Those words made me stop. I realized I had spent the whole evening not defending the truth, but protecting my ego. I wanted to be understood, to be approved of, to be seen as the one with good intentions. and in doing so, I had unknowingly handed over my self-respect to someone else. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone thinks ill of you, don't try to correct them. Time will prove the truth." But to live by that wisdom, you must accept something difficult, that sometimes you don't need to be understood right away. Truth doesn't need defense, it only needs to be lived. And when you remain steady in the face of misunderstanding, others eventually see what's real through your actions, not your explanations. I began to practice this. When someone misunderstood, I stayed quiet. When misjudged, I smiled and kept working. At first it was suffocating. The instinct to explain rose every minute. But over time I felt a new kind of power, the power to stand still without needing to win. That silence, once mistaken for weakness, slowly changed how others saw me. They sensed calm, and they adjusted their tone. In life, everyone wants to be understood. However, those who are respected are not necessarily the ones who are understood. They are the ones who remain calm, even when they aren't. Epictetus called this inner freedom, the state where you are not pulled by others' emotions or trapped by the need to prove anything. If you've ever felt like you had to keep talking just to be heard, try stopping. Take a slow breath. Ask yourself, am I protecting the truth or my image? When you dare to remain silent, you'll realize that silence carries more weight than words spoken too soon. I'm no longer afraid of being misunderstood, because every time I stay calm in the face of a misunderstanding, I strengthen my dignity. And strangely enough, those who once doubted me began to respect me more, not because I convinced them, but because I didn't need to. If someone misunderstands you, don't rush to fix it. Just live right, act right, and let time speak for you. It may take a while, but truth always arrives, and when it does, it brings something words can never buy. Genuine respect. By the time you finish this lesson, you'll see that respect doesn't come from winning arguments, but from staying composed when others fail to understand you. Yet there's another way we quietly lose our weight, subtler and more complex to see. It's not in what we say, but in how often we feel the need to be present. Habit 2. When you are always available. There's a kind of person everyone finds easy to reach, always ready to listen, to help, to respond the moment someone calls. They never say no, never refuse, never let anyone wait. At first, they're loved for it. But with time, they're often the ones people start to take for granted. I used to be that kind of person. Whenever someone texted me, I replied immediately. When friends needed me, I showed up without hesitation. I thought that was what sincerity looked like. But one day I realized I was exhausted, not because anyone had hurt me, but because there was no space left that truly belonged to me. I was everywhere except in the one place that mattered most, within myself. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life on things beyond your control." When you're always available for others, you let them decide your rhythm and your energy. You think you're being kind, but in truth you're slowly becoming a free resource for the world. I remember one evening, I was working when a friend messaged me that she needed to talk. I stopped what I was doing and called her right away. For more than an hour, I listened, comforted and reassured. When I hung up, it was past midnight. I wasn't angry, but I felt a sense of emptiness. I realized I had done the right thing at the wrong time. I had given when I hadn't given enough to myself. Stoicism doesn't teach selfishness, it teaches boundaries. Seneca said, "Kindness without discipline destroys itself." When you show up too often, people start to see your presence as ordinary. They don't mean to disrespect you, they stop valuing what they no longer have to wait for. So I began practicing the word no. At first it was hard. I feared being seen as cold. But I learned that a well-timed no holds more value than 10 reluctant yeses. I stopped replying instantly, stopped trying to be everywhere. And strangely, those who truly respected me stayed, but they began to speak more slowly, listen more deeply, and treat my time with greater care. The Stoics believed our time and attention are our greatest assets. When we give them away too easily, we lose not only energy but also the weight we hold in others' eyes. Because respect is not born from kindness, but from limits. If you feel that people have started to take you lightly, look more closely. Have you been too quick to say yes, too available, too easy to reach? Have you taught them that they don't need to wait for you? Absence has its own value, it makes presence all the more meaningful. I've learned that not everyone deserves every version of me. Some people should only see me when I'm strong, others should only hear me when I'm ready. Selective presence doesn't make you distant, it gives you depth. When I began to live this way, life grew lighter. I had time to be still, to think, to be with myself truly, and others, they changed too. They spoke with a softer tone, listened more carefully, and seemed to realize they could no longer call on me at any moment. Because respect doesn't need to be demanded, it arrives naturally when you keep just enough distance for others to slow down before stepping closer. If you've ever felt like you've given too much and no longer feel appreciated, write this in the comments. I choose to keep a part of myself for me. It's a reminder that kindness needs boundaries, and respect begins the moment you decide where others are allowed to reach. However, there's another habit that causes us to lose weight in an even subtler way, not by being too present, but by revealing too much too soon. When we share emotions we haven't yet understood, we don't invite connection, we create distance. And that was a lesson I had to learn the hard way. Habit 3. When you share your emotions too soon. Some people call themselves honest. They discuss their sadness, disappointments, and the wounds that have yet to heal. They believe that expressing emotions helps them be understood and fosters a closer connection with others. But one day they realize something, and people begin to keep their distance. They still listen, they still nod, but they no longer really listen. I've been there. There was a time when whenever I felt down, I would share it with friends to find relief. Each time I felt a little lighter, but the more I shared, the weaker I felt. Every time an emotion rose before I could process it, I spoke it out loud, and in doing so, I turned my pain into something that needed to be validated. I wasn't looking for understanding. I was looking for rescue. One night, while rereading Seneca, I stopped at this line. He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary. That sentence hit me. I realized I wasn't lacking courage. I was lacking emotional discipline. I had let my emotions leave me too soon before I could understand them myself. And when you reveal what hasn't ripened, others don't see depth, they see fragility. I began practicing silence with my own pain. When something hurt, I stopped rushing to tell anyone. I wrote it down instead, left it there for a few days and reread it later. Every time what had made me cry yesterday suddenly felt strangely lighter. I learned that not every emotion needs to be shared, only the ones you've already understood. Stoicism doesn't teach you to hide your emotions, it teaches you to observe them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If something causes you pain, look straight at it. It will dissolve when seen through reason. When you understand your emotions, you master them. When you expose them too early, they master you. And that makes others feel burdened by you rather than respect you." I recall a close friend once sharing her story about losing faith in love. I was about to tell her my own story so she'd know I understood. But just as I opened my mouth, I stopped. I listened. When she finished, she smiled and said, "Thank you for not making my story about you." That sentence taught me something powerful. Sometimes silence is the most graceful gift in any conversation. The Stoics saw silence as an art, not the silence of fear but of wisdom, the kind that knows not everything inside us needs to be revealed to the world. Strength isn't in showing, it's in holding back. And when you know how to hold back, your words gain 10 times their weight. If you've ever said something and later wished you hadn't, write this in the comments. I choose to understand my emotions before speaking about them. It's how you begin to rebuild emotional discipline, which the Stoics referred to as the foundation of dignity. I've learned that the deeper a person becomes, the less they speak of their pain, not because they don't feel it, but because they know that once the wave passes, what remains is calm water, and that calm is what earns respect. When you've walked through this lesson, you'll realize that emotions don't need to be proven, only understood. But there's something subtler still. Many people keep their silence, yet still lose respect for one simple reason. They don't dare to live truthfully unless someone else approves of them. And that was the next lesson I had to learn after many years of mistaking fear for humility. Habit 4. When you need approval to be yourself. Some people only feel comfortable when someone else nods in agreement. They adjust their tone, their walk, even their way of living just to fit someone's expectations. They don't call it fear, they call it respect. But in truth, it's fear of rejection disguised as humility. I used to be that way. In my early working years, I constantly sought approval before sharing any opinion. If someone stayed silent, I immediately doubted myself. If I faced disagreement, I felt small. I didn't realize that living through other people's eyes was slowly erasing who I was. Once, after I posted my first video about Stoicism, a friend commented, "You're sounding too philosophical." That single remark, though harmless, made me stop for nearly half a year. I thought I wasn't good enough, not deep enough, not ready yet. But one night, while reading Marcus Aurelius, I came across a line that felt as if it were written for me. If what you do is right, do not concern yourself with whether others think it is right. I closed the book, and the next morning I returned to my desk, not to convince anyone but to live truthfully. The Stoics believed that true freedom begins when you no longer need approval to do what's right. When you live by your values, respect finds you not because you're praised, but because you remain grounded amid judgment. I began to practice this in the smallest ways, saying no when I needed to, staying silent when arguments proved pointless, and stopping the habit of explaining myself to those who chose not to understand. Each time I felt myself grow, not in age, but in self-command. Seneca once said, "He who seeks the approval of the crowd has surrendered his life to them." When you need others' consent to be yourself, you live by their map, not yours. And what you lose isn't just freedom, it's the respect you owe yourself. I once believed that being loved was what mattered most. Now I understand that being true to myself is what keeps me at peace. Those who respect you don't need to agree with you, they need to understand you. They only need to see that you don't trade your values to please them. If you've ever stayed silent out of fear of being judged, write this in the comments. I choose to be myself, even when no one agrees. That is the declaration of a sovereign mind, what the Stoics called inner dignity. Looking back at these 4 habits, which I'm trying to explain to make them understandable, I see a common thread. They all stem from a fear of not being accepted. But once you dare to let go of that fear, what remains is not isolation but genuine respect. And that is where the final reflection begins. A reminder that respect is never something you demand from others. It's something you build quietly by the way you live. Respect doesn't come from others, but from how you stand tall within yourself. After walking through these 4 habits, perhaps you've begun to see that they're not just about how others perceive you, but also about how you perceive yourself. Each time we lose respect, it's not because others are too cold, but because we've traded our inner peace for an external glance. You've tried to explain so that you can be understood. You've shown up everywhere to prove you care. You've shared emotions too early, and sometimes you've waited for someone's approval just to be yourself. None of these is wrong. They made you forget that true worth never needs validation. I used to think respect came from how people treated me. But one day, I realized that the most lasting form of respect begins the moment you stop begging for recognition. When you stay silent, when you choose not to react, when you stand firm and live rightly, that is when you become truly dignified. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You cannot control what others think of you, but you can always control how you live." That line became a mirror for me, reminding me that I don't need to win praise or outlast criticism. I only need to live in a way that lets me fall asleep each night, knowing I remained upright. If one of these 4 habits truly resonated with you, share it in the comments. Write which one and why it struck you. Because sometimes recognition itself is the beginning of change. If you wish to keep strengthening your mind and learning to stand firm amid chaos, subscribe to Sovereign Stoic. Every video here is crafted to help you build your inner fortress, a place you can return to whenever the world outside becomes too loud. And if this video spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to relearn the art of respect, not respect for others but for themselves, because that is the root of every true peace. Finally, leave your reflection in the comments. The habit that made me think the most is, and share why. Every reflection is a spark of awareness, a step toward building a stronger, deeper community together. Subscribe, share the message, and remember, true power is calm.